All it takes is 2 seconds to change your life forever. You don't believe me? All the married women in the audience, think of the time when your husband proposed to you. Or perhaps your parents told you, you are going to get married to that man. Two seconds is all it takes for us to change our lives. Toastmaster of the day, my beautiful and fellow Toastmasters and guests, and the man of the hour, Toastmaster Ali. A very good evening to all of you. Today, I'm going to share my 2 seconds, the 2 seconds that changed my life. It was not the time when I proposed to the club president. For my 2 seconds, I want to take you back 42 years, when I was 12 years old. Now, some of you must be thinking, he doesn't look that old, but that's another story. Growing up, we lived in a very remote village, and we were poor, very poor. We had rice in the house, and my mother would make curry. What goes inside that curry would depend entirely upon us. Most of the time, it would be fish, because we lived next to a beautiful and pristine river teeming with marine life. All we had to do was go and catch it. Luckily for us, my father was an avid angler. He loved fishing. He could spend hours in his tiny boat in the middle of the river waiting for the fish to bite. Or perhaps he just wanted to get away from his wife. Being the first son in the family, my father would encourage me to join him for his fishing trips. I don't like fishing. I love to eat fish, but not to fish. But because he's my father, I would go along with him. On this fateful day, we set out in a small canoe in the middle of the river. The river was flowing rapidly. There was a very strong current. And the way we would fish is, we would take our canoe and row against the current and stop and throw our lines. And the current would take us downstream as we wait for the fish to bite. We would do this again and again. Go upstream, fish, go downstream, and repeat. During one of the trips, as we were rowing, I heard a loud splash. I turned around and I saw that my father had slipped and fallen into the river. The strong current was taking him away from the boat. There are 3 things you need to understand about this situation, 2 of which I have already told you. I was 12 years old. There was a strong current. But the third thing is, my father did not know to swim. You may find it strange that a person who has been brought up next to a river doesn't know to swim, but that's what it was. For me, time stood still. It was as if everything was happening in slow motion. For the next 2 seconds, the actions that I did seemed as if they were done by somebody else. Without thinking, unconsciously, I reached out into the canoe and lifted a long stick that was in the canoe. I held one end of the stick and I reached out to my father who was struggling, and he just managed to grab the other end of the stick. If it was half a second more, I would not be able to reach him. Somehow, I pulled him into the canoe, and we continued fishing as if nothing had happened. My father did not tell my mother about this incident, because if he did, he would not be allowed to go again for fishing, and he does love his fishing. Those 2 seconds defined whether I would have been brought up without a father or being here today in front of you, beautiful people celebrating this momentous occasion on this milestone meeting of Kuwait Challenges. 2 seconds is all it took. What about you, my friends? What 2 seconds have defined your life? What opportunities have you grabbed and pulled yourself, just like my father did? I want you to remember these moments, embrace them, because they define the beautiful person that you are. Enjoy those moments that made you who you are today. And most importantly, enjoy the evening together. Over to you.